Aloha Friday Live, everybody. This is the final Aloha Friday of the year. I am here with Lercia Collins, and she's going to be representing her company. I've been talking for the last couple of months with AMC participants, AMC members. And what is AMC? Association. Military spouse entrepreneurs, folks. If you don't know about them, you better know, because they have a ton of great military spouses doing great things for their own selves, which is empowering. I love it. And Lercia, thank you for being with me. I know we've been working on this for a while. So, schedules change, things happen, but we finally got you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to be talking about my favorite issue, which is military spouse employment, what they're doing, how are they infusing the ecosystem with work and training and all these other things. Lercia, before we get into it, hot and heavy, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into S.H.I Management.
Okay, that sounds great. So I am a native Houstonian, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Very proud to be a Texan. I have been an occupational therapist for the past 14 years, and my husband and I decided to start S.H.I Management because my husband was like very many other veterans. He struggled with getting approved for his VA disability.
Amazing. Amazing. And I tell you, as a person that is in that boat, I was Navy, so that's kind of like, hey, I was in that boat. I'm still in that boat, trying to figure out how to adequately get the rating that you deserve for the injuries that you suffered while in service. And this is a big issue. I saw a video last night of a homeless vet. Terrible thing to be, having served, but he had no good things to say about the VA. I cannot complain. I won't jump on that bandwagon. I cannot complain, but there are still obviously things that can improve. So your military spouse, you decide that, hey, we're going to go on this entrepreneur thing and build our own business. How scary was that?
It was very scary. I was very fortunate that I had a successful career, and I chose to flourish in that career. And then I got to a point to where I could no longer flourish. So the best option for me was to step out on my own. I came from a healthcare background. I'm an occupational therapist. I've been one for the past 14 years. I have a license in the state of Texas and also in the state of Florida to practice. So I wanted to not necessarily change out of healthcare, but I wanted to do something different to where the work that I did was more of a worldly cause and create a purpose. I felt like I needed a sense of purpose, and that's why we created S.H.I Management. I wanted to really change and impact people's lives because the military community is near and dear to my heart. My husband is a U.S. Army veteran, and he struggled for years trying to get approved for his disability for something that in my mind was very simple. But in his mind, it was very complex because he didn't understand the underlying issues of it.
Right. And that's the challenge, right? The service member, we're not healthcare educated, right? You know that the health system in the military is there. Most of us don't take advantage of it. I'll tell you that, right? For one reason or another, maybe pride, maybe fear. There's so many things that you could think about when you don't go to the doctor, or when you go to the doctor, you downplay the situation. I was talking to my brother. He's not military, but having done and went through my process, I said, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm good." I said, "Are you?" And I started acting like some investigator, and I was like, "Bro, you don't say you're good if you ain't good."
Right.
Don't do it. You tell them exactly what it is. But, it's something that as humans we do, right? We don't want people to know that we may be less than any condition that is considered normal. And that's
Correct.
a problem. That's a
Correct.
problem because when you're talking about disability rating, you're talking about getting services, the squeaky wheel don't get the oil unless it squeaks. And so
That's
you
correct.
have to. You have to. So, structured healthcare information management. I love the name because this is, and we're going to talk about this whole evaluation of your record and things. Because as a service member, I mentioned we're not healthcare providers nor educated. There are some things in there that are written,
Mm-hmm.
and even the things that are not written,
Mm-hmm.
could help or hinder your success at this VA rating evaluation. So,
Correct.
tell us a little bit about the way you go into getting somebody ready for this evaluation.
So the first thing that we do is we request a copy of your medical records. We'll have you to sign or release information form to us, giving us permission to request that information. And once we receive your information, we go through what we consider a thorough analysis to where we take the medical records, we make sure that they're in chronological order. And then we also go through them and make sure that we can simplify some of the medical terms that are not easy to understand. We try to break it down into layman terms. So when you apply for your disability, you understand exactly what it is, what each and every diagnosis is, whether it's chronic, long term, or acute, short term. You have a thorough understanding versus a doctor or another healthcare professional coming in trying to explain it to you in a terminology that you're not familiar with.
And I'm putting in the chat. Let me see, because the question is, and I'm putting in there: Have you received a VA medical rating you thought was less than, right? I explained to you earlier when we was just chatting that, when I first got out 5, 6 years ago, I initially did my claim. I used the VSO, right,
Mm-hmm.
which are supposed to, help.
Correct.
Um, it went through. I came back. They said 80%, and I was ecstatic. If I could replay that, you'll probably giggle about how ecstatic I was that this thing came back as an 80% right off the bat. 5 years down the road, things start to go downhill in some areas, right? And I'm like, oh, well, hold up, man. Now this, and what you realize is, or at least what I realized was that when they came off 80 right off the bat, that meant they saved 20. That's what it.
Correct.
That's how I took it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen people come back and they're like 0, and they're like 10, and I'm like, you need a walker. What are you talking about? You're 10,
Yes.
and that disparity exists, and that's why there's been so much, maybe distrust, in that system. Now, what I
Absolutely.
try to tell people is you have to remember that the VA is ran by civilians that did not serve.
Correct.
You're not going to get the same empathy. You might get sympathy,
Correct.
but you're not going to get empathy. And
Correct.
so we go through this process. You give you the authorization to go through. You comb this thing through. I love that you guys do medical billing. Is that coding and billing? Is that how it works?
Yes, sir.
uh,
That is correct.
right. So you taking your career in healthcare as a physical therapist. You're digress from that. Now you're focusing on this element of your business, how successful, not your business, but how successful do you think people are when they go through their initial claim?
If they receive the full medical summary and the medical record analysis from us, they should be 100% successful. Because, so I'll use you for instance. You stated that when you first went through the process, you were approved 80%. But, of course, with us, as we age in place, time progressed and your body started going through some different changes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just think if you would have had that medical record summary that explained to you what each thing was that you were dealing with, and you understood that progression was to come. You could have received that 20% much sooner than what you received it versus waiting the 5 or however many so years down the line. If we understand the information that a medical record contains, and if we understand what's on that medical record and the things that we have going on in our body, it's easier for us to appeal and fight for that extra 20% because we know what lies ahead. That's our purpose. Our purpose is to create that openness so you understand what you have is chronic, which is long term, and it's progressive. It's not going to get better. So as long as you have this ailment, you're going to continue to have some issues with this ailment, which will affect your health continuously. And that's the purpose of us. We want to make sure that you totally understand everything that's on that medical record. So when they give you 20 or 30%, you can say, well, hey, wait a minute. I have such and such and such and such, and this is not going to improve. So I want to fight this because I know the long-term effects of what's to come.
Yeah, that's a different ball game. That's a different ball game. I was little league. You're talking about major league, and there's a difference, and you end up paying for it. You end up paying for it. I tell you, if I would have gotten the appropriate rating at the beginning, it has equated to over $30,000 difference from today and that day. I don't know how many folks that are listening could use $30,000.
Right.
But that's a good chunk of money over 5 years that you've lost, and continue to lose as long as they delay the reevaluation or their exams or anything like that. So it's best to get a professional that can put you in a position to be able to rightfully and knowledgeably fight these ratings that come back if they're not as they should be. Right. So how many of the service members that come to you know much about their record?
In all honesty, it may be maybe 5%.
That's and we gotta do better, folks. we gotta do better but service doesn't require that from us. It doesn't require that you know your medical record in and out. Because you know what? At the time I stumped my toe, I'd have been in there. I wouldn't have just held my toe. I'd have been in the clinic, talk about y'all need to make some x-rays or something, right? Because that's how critical it is when you get out and now you're no longer under the umbrella of the military. You are now a civilian.
Right.
We done forgot what it was to be a civilian, let alone think about things in that way that no one is just taking care of it.
That's
and
correct.
So that habit eventually hinders us, that the military is taking care of it. We can't be in that position. So if there's somebody out there listening and is still in and still has some time to think about these things, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to request a copy of your medical records now. So you can start having someone to review the records with you and they can discuss some of the things that your medical records contain. Now, I want to also emphasize, Enrique, how important a medical record is. This document follows us through our entire lives. This is the first piece of paper that you receive
Mm.
when you come into the world. We
Oh yeah.
receive a medical record before some of us receive a name. That's how important that piece of paper is. And it's the last piece of paper that we have when we leave here, our medical
Mm.
records. So we need to know and understand what it contains. 1 out of 4 Americans do not understand the information that their medical record contains.
That is staggering. There's a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
That's a lot of ones,
Yes, it is.
right? um,
Correct.
and you know, you bring up a good point in terms of the importance of that record. There's people that don't even know their blood type.
Correct.
I mean, that thing's running through your body. You don't know what type, but
Right.
it's one of those things that we just allow others to take care of. You know, even in the civilian. Now, I'll tell you, my wife, she all in that thing.
Mhm.
She would have gone through the whole exam before they even sent her. You know, because now everything's digital, right? Everything's
Like
digital.
your wife.
Uh, Y'all need to get together. I'm telling you, she is like so detailed, and she'll have a look in there before her doctor ever calls her for a, let's discuss what the findings. So yeah, let's discuss that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I'm
I'm
like,
with you,
I feel
wife.
sorry. I feel sorry for these doctors. Don't come sideways to her because she'll tell you. But she is one that is very detailed oriented and on it, and that involves all of us in this house. And but we don't practice that at like a normal, right? You just mentioned
Right.
1 in 4. I mean, out of a household, somebody that doesn't know to
Correct.
go through these things, but service members will not, for sure, for sure. Um, I knew not one service member that could tell me everything up in their medical record. Not that they would want to, but I'm saying
Right.
that even if they had the opportunity, I don't think they could. Um, so you 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 help people come in, they get you this authorization, look over their stuff. You're able to help them understand basically the ramifications of the injury. Where is this thing going? How far and how bad have you seen things go from your evaluation to uh, 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 looking into the future?
Well, for my husband, it went 10 years. Um, because my husband went back and forth. And again, I don't necessarily know if it was pride and he didn't want to ask me. But a lot of it was just him receiving the runaround, not being able to get appointments in time, dealing with the VA, not being able to access his medical records online through the portal, just a lot of hiccups. And in healthcare, it's sad, but it's true. Sometimes it's easier for other healthcare professionals to deal with each other. So, a doctor may respond more faster to another healthcare professional than he would to a patient. And so I kind of had to come in and use my professional role so I could get more leeway for my husband and make the transition easier for him. Because when he was discharged with 10% and he hurt his back. Well, we later
Mm.
found out that he had a herniated disc, he had degenerative joint disease in the spine, because there would be times that he couldn't even get out of bed because he was in such excruciating pain from his back. And this is somebody who was discharged with a 10% rating.
ten
So it took
percent
us some
Yeah.
years to get him to that 100%.
And I'll tell you that if anybody is out there suffered a back injury, you know that's your whole body.
Right.
I've, I've had, because of sports or improperly preparing for the event or what have you, I've had days that I done dropped to the floor and could not move because of
Correct.
the back, right? And so that's one of those central things. That's where your nerves at. You know,
Absolutely.
you mess that up, and there's a lot of veterans listening. I see Raphael. Thank you, brother, for joining us tonight. And some others on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. There are injuries that we just don't know the extent of, and the secondary things that can happen from a particular injury. Now,
Yes.
when we go to medical, they're not they're not going to try and explain to us that these secondary things are coming, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the medical system was created, but I'm happy sometimes. Other times I'm just like, you couldn't have told me that, right? Because now I got to get back, right? So that's kind of like almost ensuring you come back. And it's sad that that's the system the way it is. But the secondary things are never, it's hard enough to get the primary things right.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary things. Now, when you create this evaluation, you go through this thing. Do you guys identify the secondary things that may come down the road?
Absolutely. So what we do is once we find out what your primary diagnosis is, we'll tell you some of the results that could possibly happen because of that primary diagnosis.
Hmm.
So, for instance, if you have lumbar pain in your back, lower back pain, that could eventually affect your balance. It could affect your walking. It could affect you dressing, putting on your clothes. It can affect you driving because the lower part of your body, if it's, as for instance with my husband, if it was like he had degenerative joint disease, it affected his ability to even care for himself. Sometimes going to the bathroom simple as having a bowel movement because you're having problems with your back.
And I tell you, I was talking about the secondary things. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, right?
Okay.
The but mine's is like in the middle of my head. The
Okay.
thing that tells you breathe because you stop breathing don't work right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Complex, right? That's what they call it. Complex sleep apnea. I started developing restless leg syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, insomnia
Mm-hmm.
because I could not sleep.
Yep.
And now to the point where my wife's like, yo, something got to give. Yeah, you run around, messing around, moving in the bed. You're slapping that mask off your face. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she going and you're not sleeping right. Or the earlier today, she's like, are you okay? You look off. I was like, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes burn
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't get enough sleep. So now these things are gonna compound because a person that does not sleep right just cannot be healthy.
No, not at all.
And so I appreciate that you guys go through at that section and be able to say, hey, oh, by the way, did you know that down this road you might see something? And
That's
that's important, you
mm-hmm.
know. Um, uh, 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 Jacob from Jacob or Jack Mac Photography is on YouTube side, and he said, "Thank you for the information, Lucy."
You're welcome.
So, what would you suggest now? Get a copy of your medical record,
Mm-hmm.
even if I'm not out yet. Can I get that evaluated by somebody
Yes,
like you?
absolutely. Absolutely. We can start the process with you currently being in service. Yes.
And so that would do nothing but provide someone an opportunity to be at better footing. Better footing.
Transition out. Yes, sir.
All right. So great. Now take us down this journey about entrepreneurship, because this is something that was not probably you thought of. It was probably someday, hey, what can I do? But why did you go from the therapy side to the coding? You know, because coding is not easy, right?
No.
You got to know a lot to be able to code these things. But why you decide that this would be the fit for you as a military spouse and running a business?
Well, while I was a therapist, I kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder. So I initially left the treating clinician side, and then I became a rehab director, and then I became a multi-site director where I managed more than one rehab department. And I wanted to eventually become a compliance officer. Well, unbeknownst to me, billing and coding, compliance, medical records, they're all in the same thing. So, as I went back to school and received my degree in health information management, I discovered that I kind of wanted to do my own thing. I had saw so many changes in healthcare with all of the cuts from insurances, and just the clinical aspects of therapy. It no longer interests me. I wanted to learn more operationally in the revenue cycle management part of healthcare. And that's why I chose to start my own business. As therapists, we do our own billing and coding every day anyway. That's a part of our
Oh,
job.
okay.
So
All right.
we have to document on a daily basis and enter codes for the services that we provide to our patients. And I thought, hey, I could very well start my own company. I'm reviewing at least 10, 15 other clinicians every day, the codes that they're entering. And I saw how much money the company I worked for was making. I said, well, hey, this may be something that I should be doing.
Right.
And here we are.
Hey, when you peek behind the curtain and you see odds, you say, "Hold on, now I can do this."
Right.
Right. Well, yeah, no, and it's amazing how careers can overlap, right? And you can find a segue into a better position. Now, I tell you, entrepreneurship is not easy. You're running your own thing, and that's okay. You may be getting the a desired a monetary gain that you wanted, but it comes with a lot of it's on you, right?
Correct.
How
Correct.
did you adjust to it's on you, uh, versus working in a career field?
So one of my philosophies in life has always been, Enrique, that I treat people how I want to be treated. I just believe that kindness will get you a very long way in life, and sometimes it's very underrated. I was very fortunate when I decided to step away from the clinical role to have a lot of the people that I had overseen come with me. So my transition wasn't as hard as it would have been for someone else. I had a lot of great people behind me who believed in me and believed in the vision that I had, because they knew how dedicated and how much of a hard worker I was. So they knew that it would manifest. But in that same token, it wasn't quite the takeoff that I had expected for it to be. We did go through some ups and some downs, and there's a lot of things about entrepreneurship that are behind the scenes that people don't necessarily know. It's not as black and white as I'm going to go and start a business. There's so many other elements that come into that I didn't know. I was fortunate enough that I have a younger brother and a younger sister who had already stepped out and taken that entrepreneurial journey. So they kind of walked me through the process, but there are a lot of legalities that come behind it, as you
Mhm.
know.
Yep.
And so when you're unaware of these things and the things that have to be taken care of behind the scene, sometimes they can hinder you and sometimes hold you back because you're not knowledgeable to the process and what it takes to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that process is very treacherous if you're not safe.
Mhm.
Um, a simple thing as your logo that you
Correct.
thought was nice and
Mhm.
pretty
Right.
could get you in trouble, right?
Correct.
There are just so many risks that exist when you try to go down the entrepreneur route. But at the same token, if you do your due diligence and you get some training, let's talk a little bit about training because I know through AMC, IVMF, there's been some programs that you've been able to partake in that are structured and made for entrepreneurs like us, veterans, military spouses, that you can go through and get the education element while you practice, right? This is an on the job type of training thing. But tell us a little bit about the education piece that you received and from whom.
So the first education piece that I received was from IVMF, and I went through the VWise
Okay.
program. And let me just tell you, first, let me say the military is such a great community, such a great community. Not only am I a military spouse, but I was also a military brat. My father was in the military, and I just don't, and maybe it's me and just the lack of knowledge back then, but I don't recall my parents being able to have so many doors open for them as I have by being affiliated with the military. So for that, I'm very grateful. But IVMF is one of the greatest educational institutions that you can go through. When I say they back you 100%,
Mm-hmm.
let me put an extra zero on the end because it's 1,000%, and they are readily available for you. They walk you through everything step by step. They give you all the tools that you need, the resources that you need, and they even have outside resources to assist you. I've been very fortunate to be a part of so many military organizations, and I'm very grateful for that. I've gone through IVMF, the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs. Words can't even express how great Moni Jefferson is and her team. Just awesome, awesome, beyond awesome. The blueprint that they provide for military spouses, the step by step guide that they give you, you can email and contact someone at the drop of a dime and they respond immediately. Awesome. The Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce with Stephanie Brown, the
Mm-hmm.
Rosie Network with Stephanie Brown. Just awesome, awesome, awesome. So I've been very fortunate. I was able to link and connect with great people who wanted to see my business flourish and my business grow by me having that affiliation. So for that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and I'm tagging them all right now because I love Stephanie, love Moni. They're doing great things. I mentor through the Rosie Network, through their CEO program. Always enjoy being a leadership SME when I come in and teach about that. And of course, spent the last 2.5 months hosting AMC members on the show to give back because this time of season there's a lot of things that military spouses are doing through their businesses that you can participate in and support. Uh, Lucy has one, and a lot of people that do not know anything about their record need to come running. Let me
Absolutely.
tell you, from a person that had to go running, need to come running and get you at your services and see about what you're doing and how you do it. Because let me tell you, for those listening that are military, you're still in, or you may have gotten a rating that you did not think you would get. It may be too low. Um, it's time to act. That's just the way I can tell you. Don't let time go by because in this instance, time is not on your side. The sooner to separation date that you can get this evaluation done, the better, right?
That's,
So now you've been through the education piece. You guys decided let's launch this thing.
that's right.
How easy was it?
Um, I want to say it was easy.
Really?
Once we had the tools in place, it was an easy launch. It was easy for us to take off because we had what we needed. We had the support system that we needed. And right now our focus is to give back to the military community, that same community that supported us, and flourish and grow. Healthcare is something that is another important element of my life. It's who I've been for the past 14 years.
Right.
So why not utilize those resources and what I have acquired during this time to help others? That's what we want to do. We want to change lives. So if me giving someone some information that they're unknowledgeable about can change their life, like you said, give them back that $30,000, then that's what we're here for. That's what we want to do.
I'll tell you right now, folks, that's what it is. I mean, the difference in time is money. And not just money, because here in the state of Florida, similar to the state of Texas, veterans get a whole lot when they get that 100%.
Yes, they
here
do.
In the state of Florida, no property tax. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are some communities where I live, there the property tax is $10,000 a year.
Yes.
So that's not only getting the 30,000 back, like in my time frame, that's getting 30,000 on top of that, because now I don't have to pay that property tax. So just one of the many that come through when you file correctly, when you know your information, when you understand what that information means and what it means down the road, which is almost as important, right? If not more important, right? Because we know what you got now. We don't know what what's coming, right? So Lucy, thank you for the services that you your husband provide through this company. Folks, if you don't, I'm gonna ask you, Lucy, to go in there afterwards, put your website. But if someone wanted to get a hold of you, they're still looking at separation, they're looking at retirement. My retirement came as a surprise. I had 6 months to pack up and leave,
right?
And it was that quick. And so some people have time, some people don't. They get in a predicament like me. How would they reach you? What do you prefer the way that they should reach you if they want to take advantage of those services?
Sure, they can reach us on our website. It's www.shimanagement.net. N-E-T.
And I'm just going to put it in here. Hopefully I typed it right. We'll see. But if not, I'll correct it. And you are on LinkedIn. What other social platforms are you on?
We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and we're also on Spousely, one of our other favorite military spouses.
Yes. Let me put them in the group of. Let's see if I did that right. Yes, I did. All right. So I definitely put Spousely in there. Love what they're doing. And I was just on their website actually before we got on the show, looking at all the different products and services and all that stuff on there. So please visit Spousely as well. Take a look at all the links that are in the comments. You will be amazed at what this military spouse community is doing. The way they are infusing business into our communities is mind-blowing and often not covered enough, right? So that's why I'm doing that through this platform. And Lucy, thank you so much for taking your time to be with me tonight. I hope there's some people that may be listening will gravitate to you and get that, because I'm telling you right now, it is so important to get that record and understand it for yourself, but more importantly, for a benefit that you've earned, and it should be at the right level. So don't waste no time. Stop playing around and get Lucy to check that out. Everybody, this is the last Aloha Friday Live of the year. I am excited for what 23 will come and bring to you. Lucy, to you and your family, have a very happy holiday, and may the new year bring a lot of prosperity to S.H.I. Any parting words before we go?
Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate you being with us, and we ask you to be safe, right? Return to your families in a safe way, in a safe manner. God bless you all. Aloha, mahalo, and we'll see you next year.